this facility so you could spend the week with us and have one of the ultimate seed distill experiences. Whether it's, some people, their favorite element is the draft horses that come and skid the trees, the percherons, or a raindrop class with only 25 people in it. Visiting our harvest sites, and we keep on talking about the people, and that's what matters, the people and their passion. So if you come and see the entire process, you get to see the personalities behind the entire process. Whether it's meeting the members of our logging crew and watching them harvest, learning about their jobs, learning a little bit about who they are, following the wood chips into the distillery, and then participating in that whole entire process. It's such a transformation to me. I've always called it alchemy, not science. And in one day's time, you see a 30-year-old tree put through a wood chipper, brought to the distillery. Maybe you've seen the fun videos of groups stomping on the chips, which is really important part of the process. But and then you see the oil bubble up on the separator, and then it's becomes the liquid gold you share with the world. So that's always been my favorite part of sharing it all.
Have you seen it change how a person runs their business once they've come to one of your events?
Oh, absolutely, because I see them later down the road at the next event, and they have a story they're able to tell that's their very own. It's something they experienced with all 6 of their own, senses, their heart. They made relationships that will last a lifetime formed off these events, and it's their story. It's not something they heard of. It's something they know in their heart.
It generates a passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of great photos too.
Lots of great photos, yeah. Good photo ops for social media. I'm not a grandparent, but I've heard that one of the great things about being a grandparent is that you can take your grandkids and spend a little time with them, but then you get to give them back, right? And I think that's kind of how it is when members come to the farms. They come and they do a little bit of the harvest and they get to participate in it, but then they get to go home. You guys do it all day, every day. So I was wondering if you could share, Domagoj, a little bit what it's like an average harvest day for you in Croatia.
One day has only 24 hours, and is never enough time for all activities what we have, what we need when we got a harvest. In this couple of months, we hired many extra people for harvesting, transportation, distilling, in order to achieve to best possible result.
So you have to hire extra people just to get all the work done?
No, everybody likes working for Young Living.
It's never hard to find anybody because they all want to work for Young Living. That's great. I know some of you deal with that, though. It can be difficult to find enough workers at times during the harvest season, right? St. Mary's, you guys are in the middle of nowhere, so it can be a challenge, right, Kevin? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of you probably have a similar harvest experience at your farms where you have the crops that come in at the same time, but it's a little bit different for you at Northern Lights. Why don't you tell us about that?
At the Northern Lights farm, we're a long way north. And anyone who's been far into the north knows that in the summer the days are long and in the winter they're very short. So our days start in the dark and they end in the dark. And when we're harvesting, we don't know if it's 4 p.m. or 4 a.m. Our temperatures are, somewhere from 0 down to -40, which has its own unique challenges. After about -20, we stop harvesting trees. When we touch them, they look like Charlie Brown trees. Everything falls off them, all their needles and branches. They become so brittle in the cold. Then we have to shut down and go back to our distillery and make sure it doesn't shut down. It's completely off the grid. We have no connection to a gas line or a power line. We generate all our own heat, all our own electricity. And if any of that ever shuts off in those temperatures, we turn into a very cold, dark place very fast. So we spend the rest of the nights keeping our distillery alive until we can go back to work and harvest trees.
So when you harvest those trees and you put them through the wood chipper, you've got to get them to the distillery pretty quickly. Because what happens if you don't?
So when we chip a tree, we introduce energy to it, and it starts to form a little bit of moisture on that wood chip. When they're loaded in a trailer, if they sit there for very long, they freeze together. and then they don't come out. So we have a solid brick of wood chips rather than trees. Then we have to back that into a building that's warm and thaw that completely out before we can go back to work.
So have you had this happen to you?
We have, and that's what we've learned from.
Yeah.
We don't allow that to happen anymore.
Yeah. So there's a real need for speed for you to get it there quickly.
Every minute counts
Yeah.
when we're harvesting, yes.
Nicholas, what about you in France with the lavender? There's an element of time to that too, as well, right?
Well, yeah, but really not as much as them. Like, we can leave our lavender on the side of the road and dry nicely for a couple days, and we're okay. As I don't think you can do that with those chips. The element in time is more when the field is ready. You have to go in and harvest. You can't wait. So we're lucky enough to have fields in different altitudes, so we're able to not have everything ready at the same time. But yeah, when harvest starts, it's long days and everything needs to be cut when it's ready. So not the same, but still we do.
The plants don't wait.
No, I
can't tell when
try
you're
to teach
busy.
them. Yeah, we try to teach them to slow down, wait a little, but they're not listening quite yet.
Yeah, keep working on it though. Maybe one day. What about at Mona? You guys grow multiple crops there. So does that ever present a challenge?
Yeah, so, I mean, as everybody knows, sometimes Mother Nature does not cooperate with us. And so the challenge we might have is that we'll have several crops that'll come in all at the same time. Like those of you that went through Mona this week, you saw in the distillery that we were harvesting both lavender and blue yarrow, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It was amazing. Thank you. That's not normal, by the way. Normally we would have done blue yarrow 2 or 3 weeks ago. But it could be clary sage and melissa all at the same time, along with lavender and blue yarrow. We might have 4 different things all at the same time. So those are the challenges that we could face.
Great. So I want to switch gears a little bit, and I was wondering, Nicholas, you worked with Gary quite a bit in Ecuador, and I was wondering if you had a memory of him you'd want to share with us.
Yes. I have like a lot of memories, and I'm sure that all these guys they had a lot of memories with Dr. Gary. But I just want to highlight one of all of them. That this is not about like working or distillation, but this is more about Dr. Gary's heart. So the memory that I have started in 2000.